The latest batch of these Twitter files shows that California Congressman Adam Schiff and his whole office at it again, this time exposing how his staff repeatedly asked Twitter, quite often, to take down tweets, including the image of then presidential candidate Joe Biden. It's a joke. Schiff's staff demanded that Twitter suspend accounts with QAnon-related activity that included the identity of the Ukraine whistleblower or the Steele dossier. Joining me now, tech analyst and CoinDesk Chief of Staff for Content, Pete Pachal. Pete, thank you so much for joining us. So that Biden image was a joke. It was obviously manipulated to be a joke. And Twitter, Yoel Roth had to tell Schiff's office, listen, no one would think that that was a real image, and it was very obviously edited for humor. But they would not back off. And don't they realize that that interference with, well, communication like that is a First Amendment violation if you work for the government?
Yeah, so the Twitter files have been like very interesting, if not entirely shocking, that there was a lot of, shall we say, thumb on the scale with regard to what appeared or didn't appear on Twitter. Look, listen, you can't really blame anyone whether it's Adam Schiff or whomever, for complaining to Twitter about things they don't like. It's a service they're using. They're going to complain. What the problem is that if you clearly they're doing that for a reason, and the reason there's an expectation that they will be responded to and things will change. And this is, this is clearly an indicator there of a lack of clear standards and practices that to regulate speech on the platform. And so the fact that these people from various political parties would go to various individuals at Twitter and then have an expectation that something would happen and action would be taken just shows that their whole system was very problematic. I mean, just think of it if they had a very clear look. If you have a complaint about anything, it goes to one place, one particular sort of trust and safety place, and in other words, you can't go to individuals on Twitter and ask them to take things down. This is the kind of thing you need to put into place when something with that clearly has like so much stakes with regard to what's said on the platform.
Before we go, fallen FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried speaking out for the first time since put under house arrest. In a lengthy Substack post, SBF denies stealing funds from FTX, claiming he didn't stash billions away, also saying his former crypto firm Alameda Research, this was the adjacent hedge fund, lost money due to a market crash. Pete, your reaction to this?
You know, it's funny. SBF has been talking so much ever since of FTX's collapse. I can't imagine what his lawyer's going through. He's just constantly pulling his hair out. Like, would you please shut up? I'm sure he's thinking. But regardless, he makes a bunch of claims in this very lengthy post. But what he essentially says, he blames Binance and their CEO mostly for what happened to the FTX Alameda scandal. But really, all of this is him, in my view, kind of continually playing the hapless victim card, that he just kind of didn't know. He wasn't the CEO of Alameda anymore. He wasn't, certain things were being kept track of and certain things weren't, and things were kept from him. And I think this is honestly, just not to be cynical about it, but it's playing into an overall legal strategy where he can just sort of go into court in a few months and just say, like, I didn't know. And the thing is, like, you're still responsible, and he makes no mention of certain things, which, particularly the line of credit that FTX gave to Alameda, which essentially created this house of cards of play money, of these sort of crypto tokens that ended up being worthless. And there needs to be some accountability for that. So we'll see what shakes out in the court in a few months.
Well, two people who work for him, including his old girlfriend who was over at Alameda, will apparently testify against him. Number one, in that $250 million bail is a steaming pile of horse manure, because he is out without actually $1 real dollar being put up to release him. That bail is only backed by a house, a $4 million house that his mommy and his daddy own. nothing more. It is outrageous that no money, no actual money had to be put up to get this guy out of jail, period. He had 10 days in jail in the Bahamas, and that's it. And he was complaining that he had to subsist on a jar of peanut butter. But we got to run, Pete. Good to see you. Thank you so much.